In this video, we will cover all of the load instructions from the LC3's ISA. We will begin with the load instruction. In short, this instruction does exactly what it sounds like it does. It loads a value into the specified destination register. The assembler format allows a user to store the memory address that holds the desired value in a label, and then load this value using the label onto any register. However, in the machine language implementation, what we must actually input is an offset. This offset will be added to the program counter, which will give us a memory address. What actually is stored in the destination register is the value that is stored at the memory address that we just calculated. These operations are split over a few micro-instructions where we interact with memory, as this cannot be completed in one step by the LC3. So the first step is to calculate the new memory address, which is done by adding the offset to the program counter and storing this address into the memory address register. Then we acquire the value from the address and store this into the memory data register. The final step is to store the data from the memory data register into the destination register and set the condition codes. The next instruction that we will look at is the load base plus offset, represented by LDR in the assembly language. This instruction has the same goal as a regular load instruction: load a specific value onto a register. The difference between the regular load and this instruction is how the memory address is calculated. In this instruction, we now calculate the memory address by taking the contents of a register and adding an offset to it. In fact, this is the only difference between the load and load base plus offset, and it is shown here in the state diagram. After calculating and storing the memory addresses in the MAR, the rest of the macro instructions are the same. We acquire the data from memory and store it into the MDR and subsequently into the destination register. Let's move on to what is probably one of the most confusing instructions to explain, which is the load indirect instruction. Again, the goal is the same, where we are trying to load a specific value into a register from memory. However, now the memory address that has our desired value is now stored in another memory address. Let's take a look at a visual to better explain this. So we have two memory addresses here, one whose data is the value we want, and another whose data is actually the memory address of the former. So what we actually need to pass to this instruction is memory address 2. In assembly, we would pass this address as a label, but in machine language, we pass a PC offset. Let's take a look at the state diagram to see how this inception load instruction is carried out by the LC3. To better help you, I have pointed out where each major step of this instruction is. Going along with my example from the previous slide, the first step is to get memory address 1 from memory address 2. We add the user inputted PC offset to the program counter and store that into the memory address register. Then we acquire the data from the memory address and store this into the memory data register. So what we have now is memory address 1. Step 2 is where we actually get our desired value. We copy the content from the MDR, which has memory address 1, back over to MAR. Now we acquire the actual value from the MAR and store back into the MDR, and then store this desired value into the destination register. So in essence, if you notice, what we actually just did was pretty much two load instructions. The last instruction we will cover in this video is a load effective address. Unlike the other load instructions, we are not trying to load a specific value into a register. Instead, we are loading an address into the register. The state diagram for this instruction is really as simple as it looks. All the LC3 does in this instruction is add the PC plus PC offset and store this value directly into the destination register. And there you have it. We have just finished covering the 4 load instructions in the LC3. The rest of the instructions will be covered by Shravan Gupta in another video. Thank you.